Hello, you are listening to Resilience Radio. I'm Irvin Eisenberg, owner of Resilience Occupational Therapy and host of this show. Last episode, we were talking with Paul Boffa about perfume, and I wanted to continue that conversation a little bit, talking about the ephemeral nature of perfume and and death, actually. Had we had more time, and it didn't seem like that if it had fit, some of the things I was interested in discussing was that interaction between the perfume and the body. You're talking about the heat and the different oils and how things might smell differently on different people's bodies and change over time.
Yeah. It is very.
That's something that. Yeah. Go ahead.
The thing I briefly, just to address that, since it was on your list of questions, is that with synthetic perfumes, there is much less of that interaction because the chemical composition is in control. With organic perfume, with natural essences, the interaction of the perfume composition and the skin oils and the body temperature of a person, there's more of a fluid exchange, more of an osmosis. I mean, we're talking about the biggest organ of the body, the skin, and so there's opportunity for a really rich exchange there. Synthetic chemistry tends to just sit on the skin, and there's less of an exchange with the body. It just kind of sits there and honks, and it becomes at least as much the experience for other people. So that's sort of a rough response to your question.
Yeah, and it makes me think about there's something about the term ephemeral and the idea that the perfume changes and decays over time.
Yeah,
and we have
and
this.
The industry doesn't like that.
No,
or
versus that clawing, like
public.
Yeah. And I think that it feels like, not to wax too metaphorical on it or make but it feels like that parallels our fear of death, our categorization of life and death. There's sort of this that people like to think of. We medicalize death and we medicalize birth and everything in between. There's sort of like almost like this golden age you should be, and then you should be young forever versus that.
Right. That's a great point. So, yeah, the ephemeral. Well, the conventional perfume industry. If you were to just Google perfume products, and you started to look at promotions for popular perfumes out there, I can assure you that if not the very first thing you would see in the marketing copy would be, it lasts a really long time. And that's like their big honking marketing ploy, which is put this stuff on and it won't quit. And I read that like, oh my God, give me a break. I want it to quit. Even the stuff I make, I don't want it to last for 10, 12 hours. Any more than I want to hear a Beatles song go on for more than 3.5 minutes. I don't. Enjoy it, let it go. If you want to hear it again, play it again. If you want the perfume again, reapply it. But, I'm not going to put a Beatles song on a repeating loop for 5 hours. That's madness. So I think that's a real critical meaning of the ephemeral idea. Let it go. Just like you're saying, bringing life and death into the picture. We need to let go of youth, as a physical attachment, and eventually we need to let go of life, because however we approach it, with or without fear, it's going to pass. And so you just gave me a great talking point, which is to align the ephemeral, decaying nature of natural perfume with the with what can be the acceptable aspects of any experience in life. Let it go. love doesn't last forever, either because it's a passing experience in your lifetime or you die. A good meal, it you enjoy it for as long as you're eating it, and you create a memory. Yeah, we had a great dinner out 3 nights ago. I want to recommend the restaurant, and we had the the calamari. It was terrific, but you don't want to sit there and eat it for 9 hours. You'd get sick. So ephemeral's meaningful because it's also important. It's an acceptable aspect of the nature of the world. Things pass, change is a constant. So thank you for that. I just got a bit of an epiphany. So
And that fits right in with what you're calling the people smelling the perfumes travelers. There's motion happening here. This is not a stagnation.
No.
From here, Paul and I continued the conversation and started talking about his perfume that was actually made for anointing the dead originally. And he shares a little bit more about death.
I mean, we market amphora. It's a perfume, but in our descriptive language, we use words like anointment and unguent to shift it into other categories, so that it's not just relegated to a pleasing smell, but it also has some application. So we're somewhat vague about that. Again, it would be weird to start. Yeah, it would be weird to start marketing perfume for the dead. But I'll leave you with a story. 2 years ago, a friend in the community died, and the nature of her memorial and burial ended up being a procession of 1.5 miles. She died in December of the year, 2 years ago. And about 500 of us gathered at a town hall, and her body appeared just wrapped in a shroud and covered with flowers. And her body was placed on a horse-drawn cart in full view. And we all walked with that cart for 1.5 miles and to a cemetery where a grave was already pre-dug for her, but the soil was piled right next to the hole, and it was speared with about 6 shovels. And so a group of people close to her lowered her body into the ground, and then the invitation went out to the assembled group to put whatever into the grave: flowers, meaningful trinkets, notes, anything, and also take a turn at the shovel. And I did, and it was a really, really powerful cathartic experience to literally jump on a shovel repeatedly and manually have to bury this woman, rather than having a backhoe just kind of replace the soil in a few scoops. The soil was spooned into the ground by multiple people. A lot of us took turns, and then some of us finished the job, because it's a lot of soil to refill a grave. And it was a incredibly emotional and cathartic experience. I came away from it feeling like, oh, wow, I just figured out how I want to go. So I'll leave you with that. Thank you. All right, that was a good close.
Thank you for listening to Resilience Radio. I enjoyed this little extra conversation with Paul Boffa about death and perfume and the ephemeral nature of art, really. I hope you enjoyed listening. If you did, you can subscribe or share the podcast with a friend so others can check it out as well. The music was brought to you by Aaron Marcus with their tune Some Biological Process. You can check the show notes for full credits on that. Thank you for listening. Take care.